Right, family. So the time of the Gentiles. This is a real important lesson pertaining to the prophecy. This lesson I feel like is needed before we even get to the man of sin, who the world calls the Antichrist. A lot of stuff has to take place, family, and a lot of stuff has taken place. So hopefully, in this lesson, this message, we'll be uncovering and exposing things that took place. Now, wasn't there? I wasn't there to witness a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about, but this stuff is all written in encyclopedias, books. Authors wrote about them. Excuse me. So, I mean, I would say everything's alleged just for the sake of, you know, it's somebody's point of view. But come on, family, we got to use common sense. We definitely have to use common sense. So, right now we're going to start. We're going to start off with some scriptures, but this is going to be more like a history lesson. We're going to throw some scriptures here and there. But the time of the Gentiles, the fulfillment of prophecy. So what is it that the Gentiles are going to do? How do they play a role in what's to come into this world? And how have they been playing that role already? All right, so this is not a racial bashing lesson. Yah loves all people that love him, that follow him through his son. So it don't matter what nationality you're from, what race. We don't use the word race, but for the sake of how people address things, Yah will accept all people, family. So just keep that in mind. This is not a one of those bashing one nationality or one race or nah. It's just putting the facts out there. We see what the Bible says. The Bible said things have to take place. So it's just putting the facts on the table, family. All right. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm doing things just a little different. Instead of just making a slide for each scripture, I'm just going right into the Blue Letter Bible. I want to read the book of Luke, chapter 21, verses 5 to 24. All right. This is how we're going to start this lesson off. Now, check this out. And this is the basis for this lesson, right? This is just because this is being mentioned is why we're going to dig in. All right. All right. So the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 5. And this is blueletterbible.com, family. Blueletterbible.org. My apologies. Anybody can get this. It's not an app you got to download or anything. But it's a way for me to show what I'm reading. And y'all can follow along. All right, so Luke 21:5 says, And some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. And he said, For these things which you behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So he's basically saying the temple. They're admiring the temple. He's saying there's going to come a day where every stone is going to be torn down. Verse 7. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that you be not deceived. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and the time draws near. Go ye not therefore after them. So many will come and say that they are Messiah. Now, family, if you haven't checked out my lesson on the lesson I did on the name of salvation, check it out, family. I'm not going to use the word Christ, Jesus, Lord. It's a reason why. I'm going to put everything in its proper text, how it should be, how it should be said. So he said, many will come and say they are Messiah, right? He said, don't go after him. Verse 9, but when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. And we're going to get into them commotions and them wars too. Verse 10, Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, deliver you up to the synagogues or assemblies, right? And into the prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what you shall answer. What he's saying is like this time is coming where they're going to deliver you up into their systems, their court systems, their prisons, right? Their assemblies. And he said, when that time comes, don't even think of what you're going to say. Why? Because he says in verse 5, he says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. So his word will speak through you. Now he's speaking to his true servants, family. He's speaking to those who's striving to walk with him, who's keeping his law, statutes, commandments, has an understanding that we have to keep his law, statutes, and commandments, who is not going out here willfully sinning, who is really being an example of the kingdom of heaven here on earth, because that's what the servants are supposed to be. Now, like I said, the key word is striving. You have to be striving for that to the point where you actually accomplish it. But some people's not even trying. That's just crazy. But anyway, we're going to keep going. All right. So verse 6, and he says, and you shall be betrayed both by parents and brothers and kinsfolk and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Wow. So family going to turn against family. And this is, see, people read this, they don't have an understanding of this. This is talking about when that time comes. We're going to talk about when we read a little bit into the man of sin. But for right now, I'm just saying, there's going to come a time where people are going to, it's going to be outlawed. Let's say it like this. It's going to be outlawed to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yah through his son, Yahushua. It's going to be outlawed. So you can imagine like the government put a spin on it and make it outlaw and call it words like, see, they put these key words in there nowadays to make people get triggered. Terrorists. Call it terrorism, right? So then they say, all right, so these are the terrorists, these are the attributes of the terrorists. So rewards, let's say they say rewards go out to those who bring some of these known terrorists. This makes sense when you hear that families turning on families, right? Delivering you up to their assemblies, or just straight up hating you because you're doing something that the Bible says to do and they're not doing it, and they look at you like you think you're better than me. It could be either way, but the key word is family turning against family. And he says what? In verse 17, and you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. They are going to hate the name of Yahushua. They are going to hate the ways of Yahushua. They are going to hate the ways of Yah. They are going to hate Yah. Y'all hear me, family? But let's keep going. Verse 18. But there shall not a hair on your head perish. In your patience possess ye your souls. So what he's saying is, all right, yeah, they can harm the body, right? They could take your life, right? But if you die for his name, I mean, you got eternal life. If you stand on it, 10 toes down, stand on it. It's nothing they really can do to you. All right, verse 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Now, this is key right here because it's a lot of people, and I'm not knocking nobody, family, but there's a lot of people like, all right, we're going back to the land. We're going back to the land. When Yah says that he's going to bring us into the land, right? It's going to be his doing. People run into the land. We're not getting protected in the land, family. We are not getting protected in the land. You see what's happening. He says that those that are there need to flee. And those that are in other countries don't need to go enter into. He's talking about during this time, though. This time where the desolation, when a man is sin, the son of perdition, when all that's taking place, don't go to that land. But he's saying for those that are already there, you need to get out. Flee to the mountains. I don't know. Just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, let's keep going. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. All right. Now we get into the fulfillment, right? But woe to them that are with child and those that give suck in those days, for there shall be a great distress in the land and wrath upon this people. And what he's talking about is this. We're going to touch on this in a future lesson, but this is talking about the fleeing into the wilderness. We're going to touch on that. But he's saying, woe to them that's with little child, right? Give suck is basically a child that's nursing, right? Because it's going to be crazy, family. It's going to be crazy. Those of us that are found worthy to escape into the wilderness are going to be chased into the wilderness. Those of us that are left behind, well, let's keep reading. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So, that's the key verse right there. Verse 24. The Gentiles be fulfilled. The times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Something important that they're going to do, obviously. So let's go over here to Revelations chapter 11 verses 1 and 2. Check this out. Revelations chapter 11 verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Arise and measure the temple of Yah, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Okay. Verse 2. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the set apart city shall they tread underfoot for 42 months. When we get into the man of sin, we're going to talk about the 42 months. We're going to come back to this, but the key words is it's been given to the Gentiles. So he told him to measure out the court. Measure out the temple and leave the court out. Don't measure the court because it's been given to the Gentiles. That is interesting, family. So we see him more. And when it comes to end time prophecies, we see him more about the Gentiles. So let's look and see when the times of the Gentile actually starts. All right, so we're going to start in Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7, starting at verse 1. And it reads, In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and vision on his head and upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon his feet as a man, and the man's heart was given to it. I ain't gonna do that. I always do that. All right, let's keep going. So a man's heart was given to it. So it was made to stand up like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second, like a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon his back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, real fast, family. So those are the 4 beasts Daniel seen in the vision. He seen 4 winds stirring up, right? Wind can be referred to in the Bible as spirit, right? So he said 4 winds, but he's seen 4 spirits stirring up, and 4 beasts came out of the sea. Now, the first 2 beasts, he's seen. It goes on to explain it, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go to it. The first one in verse 4, he said he's seen one was like a lion with eagle wings. That first beast he seen was the kingdom of Babylon. The second beast he saw, it was a bear, and it had raised itself up on one side, right? And it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and it was said to devour much flesh. Now, the fact that it was raised up on one side is because this second beast is a combination of 2 nations. It's the Medes and Persia, which makes up the I can't even talk. Medo-Persia. One side, I believe it was the Persia side, was stronger than the Mede side, so that's why it's raised up on its side, right? So those 2 beasts right there, those are not your Gentiles, okay? That's Babylon, and that is the Medo-Persia, okay? Now, when we get down here, we get in verse 6, he says, And after this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon his back 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now, this beast right here, that's it's talking about, this is Greece. 4 heads, because we're going to see that Alexander's kingdom was divided into 4. All right. And after this, I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. It had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all of the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, this beast is Rome. So the first 2 beasts is not the actual Gentiles that we're referring to. The Gentiles, just in Hebrew, Gentiles, goyim, it just means nations, right? But when they say the Gentiles in the Bible, it's referring to what we would call the Caucasians, so to speak, right? Okay, so the Greece and Rome are the Gentiles that we're referring to when we see in the Bible. The times of the Gentiles has to be fulfilled. Greece and Rome is just starting something. We're going to see what they're starting, but they're just starting something. Now, the fact that we're going to get into all of this later on in future lessons about describing the beast. So let me skip down, though. Let me skip down. So I'm going to show you something. I believe it's chapter 8. And just so if y'all wanted to... Yeah, it's chapter 8. Okay. Check this out. All right. So let's read this other vision. This is chapter 8. And this is the vision of the ram and the goat. Okay. And it says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared to me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was in Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, okay, which had 2 horns. Now this ram family is Medo-Persia. Again, remember it was described as the bear in the previous chapter. Now it's described as the ram. But check it out. Remember I said one side was stronger than the other, Medo-Persia. One side was stronger than the other. Was it the Persians? I think it might have been the Medes. Don't quote me on that. One side was more powerful than the other. All right. So here we got he says when he's describing a ram, he says, then I lifted my eyes, and I saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. You see that? So I was showing you that they might have started off equally, but towards the end, the higher one came up even higher. That's when you know what I'm saying. So it's symbolism here, showing you how that rule took place with the Medo-Persia Empire. All right, let's keep going. Verse 4. And I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. Now remember, when it was described as the bear, it said that it had ribs in its mouth and it devoured, right? It went out and devoured. So the Medo-Persia Empire, they ruled. Oh, that was a powerful rule. They ruled. All right, so let's keep going. All right, verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west out of the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Now this he-goat is Greece. This he-goat is Alexander. This is the Greeks' creator rule, and this is led by Alexander. It's funny too because they call him Alexander the Great, right? Ain't nothing great about him, but they call him Alexander the Great. And, you know, in the world of basketball, and now they use it a lot in, which I don't get, but people say if you're the greatest of all time, you're the GOAT. So he's being described, or his nation is being described as a GOAT. That's pretty strange. But anyway, so the fact that it says that this goat came from the west of the face of the earth and touched not the ground. You know what that's saying? Because Alexander, the reason why they call him the Great is because he almost conquered the whole world faster than any other empire. No other empire has even conquered how he has conquered. I'm talking about empires of the world. So he went on and did this so fast, it's being described as a goat that is running westward, right? Running from the west so fast that it does not even touch the ground. Think about like the cartoons. Back in the day, we used to watch cartoons, and the cartoon characters moving so fast, his feet is like skipping in the air. Yep. So it says that he had a notable horn between his eyes. Okay. Verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns. Remember, the ram was powerful, right? With the 2 horns, Medo-Persia. He's going against 2 nations, right? Which I had seen standing before the river. And ran unto him in the fury of his power. So this is war taking place. A great clash, family. Verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and broke his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So this is when the Greeks took over. All right. I'm going to read verse 8, and then we're going to go on. And all that other stuff we're gonna read when it comes to the man of sin. All right, but let's keep going. It says, verse 8 says, therefore the goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of the heavens. So that horn that was broken was Alexander, family. The 4 notable ones that came up afterwards is Alexander's kingdom being divided to his 4 generals. So let's go over to the book of Maccabees. Go over to the book of Maccabees real fast. I'm not going to read the whole book of Maccabees right now, but I just want to read just a little pieces of it. Little part. All right, so check it out. First book of Maccabees, right? And it says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, which is Rome, had smitten Darius, king of Persia and Medes, that he reigned in his stead and first over Greece. So this is when Greece got into the rulership, right? We're in the times of the Gentiles. This is the spark for the Gentiles. Alexander, right? Okay, check it out. And it says, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went throughout the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations. Remember, he almost conquered the whole world. So he went all the way to the ends of the earth, right? Okay, he says, and he went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted in his heart and was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. All right. And it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years. So he did all this in 12 years, family. See this what I'm saying? He did all this in 12 years and then died. And his servants bore rule. And his servants bear rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. See that? It's the dividing. It's the 4. So did their sons after them, and many years, and evil was multiplied on the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus. We're going to get into Mr. Antiochus in the Madison lesson. But I just wanted to show you the spark of when the Gentiles came into rule. All right. So let me, because we know what happens. Rome ends up taking over after Greece. Now Rome is the beast that's described as just hideous. He couldn't even put an animal towards it. But we know what happens. We know that Rome was in rulership when our Messiah walked the earth. In fact, Rome was in rulership when our Messiah was killed, sacrificed, and rose, and now sits at the right hand of the Father. But Rome was in rulership during that time. Now the world has took some changes, right? We know that. I'm telling y'all, family, you ever heard the saying, all roads lead to Rome? Because Rome secretly is still in some kind of rulership. But let's fast forward. Let's get into, here, I got a scripture I'm going to go to first. Because we've seen what was mentioned in Revelations about the courtyard and the temple. So something's taking place, and the Gentiles is doing something where the courtyard is not measured out. So let's get into that. Revelations chapter 2, verse 9 says, I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Yisrael, right? Say they are Israel, right? And are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Let's skip over one. Let's go 3:9. Check it out. Revelations 3:9 says, Behold, I will make them the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Israel, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come to worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So, family, what I'm saying is, like, we see something taking place where there's people going out into the world and is claiming to be the true children of Israel, and we're going to see that they're Gentiles. Yes, we are. We're going to be reading from this book right here. You see the title? It's called The Synagogue of Satan. And you're going to see why it is important. It's by that man right there, Andrew Carrington Hitchcock. It's a really good book, family. I actually I encourage you to go buy it. It's a good book. But we're going to see why it's necessary to read this book, do the little history check on what happened in history before we even get to the man of sin. At the end of all of this, it's all going to make sense. I mean, if you got eyes to see and ears to hear, it's all going to make sense. Without further ado, let's go. So we're going to skip into it. Now, it's a lot of information in this book. So for the sake of time, I'm not reading everything. And I don't know. I'm going to see if I can fit this all and make it just a one-part thing. But it may need to be a two-part thing because there's so much information. So I'm going to be doing a lot of skipping. Sometimes I'm going to skip things, but I'll display it on the screen. So if you're watching this later on YouTube or whatever, you can pause it and read or read along. Be a fast reader. But let's get started because this is some mind blowing stuff, family. Mind blowing stuff. So we're gonna start at page 23 in this book. I get that to go away. So we start at page 23 in this book. Okay, it went away just now. This is going to give us the origins. All right, so being though I'm putting this on YouTube so the truth can reach others. Look, I don't know. YouTube might take this down. I don't know. I don't know how they do. But for the sake of, I'm gonna use the word Khazar or the J's. This is my intention here is not to be what they call anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Semitic. I am just We're just going over the facts, family. We're just going over the facts. That's all it is. But anyway, let's get to it. So, in the year 740 AD, right? 740 years after our Messiah has risen, pretty much. Okay, check this out. It says, in the land locked between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, known as Khazaria, a land which today is predominantly occupied by Georgia, but also reaches into Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Hungary, and Romania. The modern Khazar race is born. You see what it says there, but I'm saying Khazar, okay? A modern Khazar race that incidentally is not the Jays, so to speak. All right. It says, how can this be? The Khazarian people were a vulnerable people. They had Muslims on one side of them and Christians on the other side, and thus constantly feared attack from either side. The Khazarian people were of neither faith and instead practiced idol worship, which made them ripe for invasion by a people who wished to convert them to an established faith. The Khazarian King Bolan decided in order to protect themselves against attack, the Khazarian people must convert to one of these faiths. But which one? If they converted to Muslim faith, they would risk attack by the Christians. And if they converted to Christian faith, they would risk attack by the Muslims. There was another religion that he was aware was able to deal with both Muslim and Christians. That race was, you see what they got? You know what that race is. I'm trying to say the word, the J's, right? King Bolan decided if he instructed his people to convert to Judaism, he could keep both the Muslim and the Christians happy, as they were both already willing to trade with the J's. So this is what he did. They were willing to trade with the Israelites, family. So he wanted to convert over to them. Okay. King Bolan was right. He would live to see his country unconquered. His people converted to Judaism and adopted the principles of the most holy J book, the Talmud. There are many things the king would not live to see, however. All right. I'm not going to read that, because we're going to get into all that, but I got it on the screen if you want to read it. All right. I'm actually skipping in. See that? We're going to get to all of that. I'm going to go to the year 1649. All right. All right. So skipping all the way, because remember that was 740 AD. So 1649, so skipping hundreds and hundreds of years. So these people have evolved into, you know, what they wanted to be. So 1649, check this out. Oliver Cromwell obtains backing from the British Parliament for execution of King Charles I on a charge of treason. Afterwards, Cromwell permits the Jays to enter into England again. He permits them. He doesn't want them to, right? Check this out. Effectively reversing the edict of expulsion issued by King Edward I in 1290, which expelled all Jays forever from England and made the provision that any who remained after November 1st, 1290 were to be executed. Wow, what were they doing? Right? Hey, I'm all kicked out, right? It says, indeed, England is not the first country to expel the Jays. Here is a partial list of all the areas which the Jays have been banished from. sometimes on numerous occasions over the last 1,000 years. Check this out, family. Wow. That list goes on. Okay. So, in his book, L. Anti-Semitism, Son History et S. Causes, published in 1894, noted J. author Bernard Lazar stated the following with regards to these expulsions of the Jays. It says, if this hostility, even aversion, had only been shown toward the Jays at one period and in one country, it would be easy to unravel the limited cause of this anger. But this race has been, on the contrary, an object of hatred to all the peoples among whom it established itself. It must be, therefore, since the enemies of all the Jays belong to the most diverse races, since they lived in countries very distant from each other, since they were ruled by very different laws, governed by opposite principles, since they had neither the same morals nor the same customs, since they were animated by unlike dispositions which did not permit them to judge of anything in some way, it must be, therefore, that the general cause of anti-Semitism has always resided in Israel itself and not in those who have fought against Israel. Professor Jesse H. Holmes, writing in The American Hebrew, expressed the following similar sentiments. It can hardly be an accident that antagonism directed against the Jays is not to be found pretty much everywhere in the world where Jays and non-Jays are associated. And as the Jays are the common element of the situation, it would seem probable on the face of it that the cause will be found in them rather than in the widely varying groups which fill this antagonism. So what they're saying is it's things that they're doing, the Jays are doing, that's happening. You know the saying, if everybody got a problem with you, then maybe you're the problem, so to speak, right? Okay, so let's get into some of their practices, what they were doing, how they were getting down. So in 1694, the deceptively named Bank of England is founded. It is deceptively named as it gives the impression it is controlled by the government of England. Sounds familiar, family? This is in 1694, and this is in England. All right. When in fact it is a private institution founded by Jays. In his book, The Breakdown of Money, published in 1934, Christopher Hollis explains the formation of the Bank of England as follows. In 1694, the government of William III, who had come in from Holland with the Jays, was sore straits for money. A company of rich men under the leadership of William Patterson offered to lend William $12 million at 8% on the condition that the governor and the company of the Bank of England, as they called themselves, should have the right to issue notes to the full extent of its capital. That is to say, the bank got the right to collect $12 million in gold and silver, and in turn turned it into $24 million. That is double, lending $12 million, the gold and the silver, to the government, and using the other $12 million, the banknotes themselves. Patterson was quite right about it, that this privilege had been given to the bank and was a privilege to make money. In practice, they did not keep the cash reserve of nearly 2 or 300,000 pounds. By 1696, we find them circulating 1,750,000 worth of notes against the cash reserve of 36,000 estimated. That is with a backing of only about 2% of what they issued and drew interest on. So y'all see what's taking place is they they take all the money and then they print notes. We're gonna get into all that. I just showed you they started it all the way back then. They take the money, then they print notes, they keep the money, but we're gonna get into all that. The name of the Jays, controllers of the Bank of England, are never revealed, but it is clear as early as the year, through their control of the Bank of England, the Jays had control over the British royal family. However, while their identity is protected, they may have wished they picked a more discreet frontman. After William Patterson states, the bank hath benefits of interest on all monies which it creates out of nothing. See, the money is created out of nothing. They take all the money, then they just start creating money. They take all the gold and the money, and then you just start creating money. It's created out of nothing. So Patterson comes out and says that. Now check this out. The fact that Patterson chose to let the cat out the bag in this manner may explain why he will go on to die a poor man, outcast by his associates. Or maybe this shabby's goy, which is another word for non-Jays, who chose to clandestinely represent the interests of the Jays, had merely outlived his usefulness to the Jays behind the scenes. So in the year 1698, following the 4 years of the Bank of England, the Jays controlled the British money supply had come on in leaps and bounds. They have flooded the country with so much money that the government debt to the bank had grown from its initial 1,250,000 to estimated 16 million in only 4 years, and an increase of 1,280%. Now, if y'all know anything about inflation, that's what you're seeing right there. Check it out. Why do they do it? Simple. If the money in circulation in a country is estimated at 5 million and a central bank is set up and prints another 15 million, stage one of the plan, and sends that out into the economy through loans and etc., then this will naturally reduce the value of the initial 5 million. That was in circulation before the bank was formed. This is because the initial 5 million that was 100% of the economy is now only 25% of the economy. It will also give the bank control of 75% of the money in the circulation, with the estimated 15 million they sent out into the economy, and that 15 million is backed by nothing. This causes inflation, which is simply the reduction in worth of money borne by a common person. Due to the economy being flooded with too much money, a economy which the central bank are responsible for, as the common person's money is worthless, he has to go to the bank to get a loan to help run his business. And when the central bank is satisfied there are enough people with debt out there, the bank will tighten the supply of money by not offering loans. This is stage 2 of the plan. Stage 3 is sitting back and waiting for people in debt to them to go bankrupt, allowing the bank to then seize from them the real wealth, business, and property, etc., for pennies on a pound. Inflation never affects a central bank. In fact, they are the only group who can benefit from it. As if they are ever short of money, they can simply print more. Family. So this is how they get down, y'all. This is how they get down. All right, now check this out. This is where it starts getting a little bit more heavier. All right, so in the year 1744, on February 23rd, Mayor Amschel Bauer, an Ashkenazi J, is born in Frankfurt, Germany, the son of Moses Amschel Bauer, a money lender and a proprietor of a counting house. And check this out. Moses Amschel Bauer places a red sign above the entrance door of his counting house. This sign is a red hexagram. Geometrically and numerically translate into the number 666, which under Rothschild's instruction will end up upon the Israeli flag some 2 centuries later. So the sign represents 666. We see it's got 6 points, but it's saying that this numerically and geometrically represents 666, and this is the sign that you're talking about. This is the sign. It's the red sign that was placed on the counting house on the eldest Bauer family member at the time. Let's keep that in mind, family. Let's skip down to the year 1760. During this decade, Mayor Amschel Bauer works for a bank owned by the Oppenheimers in Hanover, Germany. He is highly successful and becomes a junior partner. While working at the bank, he becomes acquainted with General von Estoff. Following his father's death, Bauer returns to Frankfurt to take over his father's business. Bauer recognizes the significance of the red hexagram and changes his name from Bauer to Rothschild. After the red hexagram or sign signifying 666 hanging over the entrance door. Rot is German for red. Schild is German for shield or sign. So the name Rothschild means red shield, and the red shield they're referring to is the shield that means 666. Y'all see where I'm going at, family? So their name wasn't originally Rothschild. It was Bauer, but it was changed, right? Okay, let's keep going. Under his new identity, Mayor Amschel Rothschild, he discovers that General von Estoff is now attached to the court of Prince William VI of Hesse-Hanau, one of the richest royal houses of Europe, which gains its wealth by hiring out of Hessian soldiers to foreign countries for vast profits, a practice that continues today in the form of exporting United Nations peacekeeping troops throughout the world. All right. He therefore makes the general reacquaintance on the pretext of selling him valuable coins and trinkets at a discount price. As he plans, Rothschild is subsequently introduced to Prince William himself, who is most pleased with the discounted prices he charged for his rare coins and trinkets. And Rothschild offered him a form of commission for any other businesses the prince can direct his way. Rothschild subsequently becomes close associates with Prince William and ends up doing business with him and members of the court. He soon discovers that loaning money to the government and royalty is far more profitable than loaning to individuals, as the loans are bigger and they are secured by the nation's taxes. 1769, Mayor Amschel Rothschild becomes court agent for Prince William VI of Hesse-Kassel, the grandson of George II of England, cousin to George III, nephew to King of Denmark, and the brother-in-law of King of Sweden. He is subsequently given permission by Prince William to hang a sign on the front of the business premises declaring that he is M.A. Rothschild by appointment court factor to his Serene Highness, Prince William Hanu. Check this out. Check this dude out. 1770. Mayor Amschel Rothschild draws up the plan for the creation of the Illuminatis. Okay. You see where it's come from, right? So he creates the plan for the Illuminati. And he entrusts an Ashkenazi J, Adam Wassup, a crypto J, which is a J who pretends not to be J, who is outwardly Roman Catholic with its organization and development. The Illuminati is to be based upon the teachings of the Talmud, which is in turn the teaching of rabbinical J's. It is also called the Illuminati, which is a Luciferian term, which means keeper of the light. Okay, year 1773. On June 12th, Amschel, Mayor Rothschild, who is another notable figure, is born, the first of Mayor Amschel Rothschild's 5 sons. He, like all his brothers, will follow him, will enter into the family business at the age of 12. Wow, family. I'm talking about running banks, running governments at the age of 12. Let's skip to the year 1776. Adam Wassup. Remember, this is the person who they entrusted to start this Illuminati, right? So Adam Wassup officially completes his organization of the Illuminati. On May 1st of this year, the purpose of the Illuminati is to divide the non-Jays through political, economic, social, and religious means. The plan is for the opposing sides of the Goyim, non-Jays, to be armed while incidents are to be provided in the order for them to fight amongst themselves, destroy national governments, destroy religious institutions, and eventually destroy each other. Notice that it started in the year 1776. 1776 in May, right? 1776 is with the world, well, America celebrates its freedom, right? So are you celebrating freedom from oppression? Because obviously we're going to see the oppression is still there. Or are you really celebrating the freedom from Yah, the freedom from the Creator, honoring the birth of the Illuminati? I mean, it's something to think about, family. Because what are you actually freedom from? What are you actually free from? What are you free from? But let's keep going. Wassup soon infiltrates the Continental Order of the Freemason with his Illuminati doctrine and establishes lodges of the Grand Orient to be their secret headquarters. Now keep this in mind, family, because I knew this too. The Masons, there was always Masons, right? And they were always a secret society. I ain't gonna say they was ever good, but they wasn't as wicked until they were infiltrated. And that's what makes them wicked now. So a lot of people who go and join these groups, they don't know until they get to a higher level. And then they come into the knowledge of knowing what's really going on. Now, here's the thing. This is the thing that they keep going. If you they spend a lot of time with these people, man. They don't just let everybody get to those high levels. If they fill you out and they feel like you can handle information, you can really push their cause and be about their business and not go out and expose them and be a whistleblower, so to speak, they would bring that person up to that higher level. However, there's some that goes into these lodges and never reached that higher level. And you could talk to a lot of them, and I'm sure they hear the backlash that, you know, people give them, the public, a lot of the knowledgeable public, like, wow, you're a Mason. And they're like, no, it's not that. It's not that. We're a brotherhood, and da 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 da. They don't see the other side of it because they might have had the mindset where the people, the power to be in their organization or secret society, seen them not fit to go to the higher levels. So they only know about certain things. And those are the certain things they give you. And they don't tell you everything, but I'm just saying, they've been infiltrated. It's layers to an onion. It's layers to an onion. The more you peel back, the more you see. The more you peel back, the more you see. So anyway, let's keep going though. So he said, Wassup soon infiltrate the Continental Order of Freemason with his Illuminati doctrine and establishes lodges of the Grand Orient to be their secret headquarters. Secret headquarters. This is all under the order of finance of Mayor Amschel Rothschild, and the concept subsequently spreads into Masonic lodges worldwide till present day. Wassup also recruits 2,000 paid followers, including the most intelligent men in the field of arts and letters, education, science, finance, and industry. They are instructed to follow the following methods in order to control people. Check this out. 1. Use monetary and sex bribery to obtain control of men already in high places. In the various levels of all government and other fields of endeavors, once influential persons have fallen for the lies, deceits, and temptations of the Illuminati, they are to be held in bondage. So what are you free from? Held in bondage. Check that out. By application of political and other forms of blackmail, threats of financial ruin, public exposure, physical harm, even death to themselves and members of their family. We kind of like see that play out too. You notice like somebody be on the up and up, and then all of a sudden something happens, and now they're in court, and now they're being thrown in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about, like, okay, I ain't saying Cosby was part of it, but I'm just saying, think about, like, Cosby, or you think about, like, you think of R. Kelly, like, the list goes on. Like, if certain people you could think about, like, all of a sudden, like, what's the dude, Epstein, right? All of a sudden, they've been doing their wickedness for years. They've been doing their wickedness, and all of a sudden, now justice needs to be sought out for them. I mean, for to go after them, right? It's kind of like, if you think about it, when you read this, you it makes sense, right? This is what we see taking place, right? And we know that they do sacrifices, family. That stuff's not a myth. It's not conspiracy theory. They do sacrifices. They kill people and stuff like that. It's weird. It's real weird. But let's keep reading. 2. The faculties of colleges and universities are to cultivate students possessing exceptional mental ability, as well as belonging to well-bred families with international leanings, and recommend them for special training in internationalism, or rather the notion that only a one-world government can put an end to reoccurring war and strife. Such training is to be provided by granting scholarships to those selected by the Illuminati. Now, they're smart. They're going into the colleges, family. They're going to the people who are going to hold major titles in society. And those are the people they're going after. Like, we see who they're going after in our community. Oh, I shouldn't say our community, but in our nation. Like, as far as like our celebrities, you know, they go after them because they're influential people. But their goal is to go after the people that's in the colleges and stuff like that. You see what they said? They had to be well-bred. That was deep. Special training for internationalism. I mean, come on, family. The Illuminati is out to make an impact on the world, to push its agenda. So they're going after the best of the best. But the people we see they're going after, is, the basketball players, the rappers, the football players, the actors, the singers. You know what I'm saying? The people who hold a position where they can influence people. But anyway, not verse 3. Number 3, all influential people trapped into coming under the control of the Illuminati, plus the students who have been specially educated and trained, are to be used as agents and placed behind the scenes of all government as experts and specialists. This is to ensure they advise the top executives to adopt policies which in the long run serve the secret plans of the Illuminati. One world conspiracy, and bring about the destruction of the government and religions they are elected or appointed to serve. All right. 4, to obtain absolute control of the press. At that time, the only mass communication media which distributed information to the public so that all news and information could be slanted in order to make the masses believe that a one world government is the only solution to the world's many varied problems. Control the media. Control the media. Now, check this out right here. So, in the year 1784, Adam Weishaupt issues his order in the form of a book for the French Revolution to be started by Maximilian Robespierre. Now, check this out. Y'all know what the French Revolution is, right? The French Revolution was, the first thing you think about is Napoleon. So this is taking place before the war even starts. See what I'm saying? This is taking place before the war even starts. But let me keep going though, right? This book is written by one of Weishaupt's associates, Xavier Zauch, and sent by courier from Frankfurt to Paris. However, en route, there the courier is struck by lightning. The book detailing its plan is discovered by the police and handed over to the Bavarian authorities. Ain't that something, right? So this man is traveling with this book, and it's to start a French Revolution. It's literally a war, right? To start a war, bring the French Revolution out, right? This courier is struck by lightning, family, and his book is discovered. So the Bavarian police have it, the Bavarian government, right? So it says, as consequence, the Bavarian government orders the police to raid Weishaupt's Masonic lodges of the Grand Orient and the homes of the most influential associates. Clearly, the Bavarian authorities were convinced that the book was discovered was a very real threat by a private group of influential people who planned the use of wars and revolutions to achieve their political ends. Ain't that something? So in the year 1785, right, the Bavarian government outlaws the Illuminati and closed all Bavarian lodges of the Grand Orient. How about that? The Illuminati at one point in time was actually outlawed. Wow. All right, so we're going to skip that one right there, but we're going to go to the year 1786. And it says the Bavarian government publishes the details of the Illuminati plot in a document entitled The Original Writings of the Order of and Sect of the Illuminati. They then send this document to all of the heads of church and state throughout Europe who sadly ignore the warnings. See, that sadly, the fact it came from the government and they ignored the warnings, that's crazy. But you can imagine like how you could tell people about it today and they just feel like, man, that's that conspiracy stuff, and they ignore it. Usually when the government said, people usually don't ignore that, but they ignored it, right? So let's scroll down. In the year 1789, right, due to the European ignorance of the Bavarian government's warning, the Illuminati plan for its French Revolution succeeds from this year to its completion in 1793. The revolution is the central banker's dream, as it established a new constitution and passes laws that both forbids the Roman Church from levying taxes, and also removed the church exemption from taxation. Wow. Y'all see all this stuff is taking place when a war starts, right? All right. Check out what this, listen. Check out what this man says. Look how arrogant they are. In the year 1790, Mayor Amschel Rothschild states the following. He says, "Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes its laws." I mean, think about that for a little bit, family. Let me control the money, and I don't care who writes the laws. Because if you control the money, you control everything. You control the laws. He don't want to write the laws. He want to control the money. Because if he controls the money, he controls the government. He controls the nation. I mean, we got all the money in the world. What else is there to get if you greedy? It's power, right? It's power. So in the year 1791, Rothschild gets control of a nation's money through Alexander Hamilton, their agent in George Washington's cabinet. Okay, now we're going to America, right? When they set up the Central Bank of the United States, called the First Bank of the United States. This is established with a 20-year charter. Within the first 5 years of the life of this central bank, the American government will borrow $8,200,000 from it, and its prices in the country will increase by 72%. In relation to this excessive borrowing and inflation, Thomas Jefferson, the Secretary of State, goes on to state, what did he say? Let's see. "I wish it were possible to attain a single amendment of our Constitution taking from the federal government their power of borrowing." Thomas Jefferson knew something was wrong with that. You feel me? The year 1798, John Robinson publishes a book titled Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Government of Europe, carried on the secret meeting of Freemasons, Illuminati, and reading societies. In this book, Professor Robinson of the University of Edinburgh, one of the leading intellects of his time, who in 1783 was elected General Secretary of the Royal Society of Edinburgh, gives details of the whole Rothschild Illuminati plot. He advises how he had been a high-degree Mason in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and had been invited by Adam Wassup to Europe, where he was given a revised copy of Wassup's conspiracy. However, although he pretended to go along with it, Professor Robinson did not agree with it, and therefore published his aforementioned book to expose it. The book included details of the Bavarian government investigation into the Illuminati and the French Revolution. I'm sure the fact that the Bavarian government actually made that a case and outlawed it. I'm sure somewhere in libraries this stuff is right in print. I'm sure it is. So it says, the same year on July 19th, David Papin, president of Harvard University, lectures the graduating class on the influence of Illuminism. Is having American politics a religion? I mean, can you imagine that? Like you went to schools and stuff like that, and you actually hearing about Illuminati. And I'm sure they was heavy in Harvard too, man. I'm sure. All right, so this is how they get down, man. So It says at the age of 21, Nathan Mayer Rothschild leaves Frankfurt for England, where with a large sum of money, remember at the age of 21, with a large sum of money given to him by his father to set up his banking house in London. You see how they getting down, man. Our 21-year-olds is just happy to have a car, little job. They setting up banks. All right, let's get down to the 1800s. 1800. In France, the Bank of France is set up. So we know who's running the Bank of France, right? We know who's running these banks now, right? Okay. Check this out, Mr. Napoleon. Napoleon would soon see that a free France would mean a country free of debt, and he subsequently states, the hand that gives is among the hand that takes. Money has no motherland. Financiers are without patriotism and without decency. Their sole object is gain. So, I mean, like, we hear the stories. I'm not saying Napoleon was a good dude, not by far. I'm not saying none of that. You know what I mean? What makes you good in my eyes, you serve Yah. But what I'm saying is the picture that they would paint for somebody, we can't always just go with the narrative. So Napoleon is somebody who sees something wrong with the central bank, right? Let's keep that in mind. Let's go down to the year 1806. So in the year 1806, Napoleon states that it is his object to remove the House of Hesse Castle from rulership, to strike it out of the list of powers. Now I'm going to explain some, because I believe I skipped Hesse Castle, a story there. No, I did touch it. I think I did touch it. I did. How the Rothschilds got tight with him. Okay, all right. I did touch that. So Napoleon is on a warpath right now. And we see that Hesse Castle is in cahoots with the Rothschild, right? So Napoleon just threatened him. Now check this out. Look what happens. So on hearing this, Prince William VI of Hesse-Hanau flees Germany, goes to Denmark, and entrusts his fortune, valued at $3 million at that time, to Mayer Amschel Rothschild for safekeeping. Hey, family, I gotta go on a run. Hold my $3 million. That don't even sound right. But he did it. He did it. And you know what's interesting about that? We're gonna see what happens to that $3 million, because you see how these Rothschilds get down, right? You already see how they get down. But let's keep going. So in the year 1807, President Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States from the year 1801 to 1809, provides one of the first honest insights into the dishonesty and corruptibility of the media, when he states, wow, they had media problems. They had media problems back then too, because we know we got them now. Check this out. This is what he says. He says, nothing can now be believed which is seen in the newspaper. Truth itself becomes suspicious by being put into a polluted vehicle. The real extent of this state of misinformation is known only to those who are in situations to confront facts within their knowledge with the lies of the day. Media always been a liar, family. Because we see they are in the business of controlling the media. So you're going to have some people who blow the whistle on it, right? I mean, it's just going to happen. So check this out. In the year 1811, the charter for the Rothschild Bank of the United States ran out, and Congress votes against the renewal. Now, that shows you something's wrong with it. They voted against it, right? They said, no. 20 years is enough. Y'all doing too much right now. 20 years is enough. But check out these Rothschilds. Check them out. Check out Mr. Nathan. So Nathan Mayer Rothschild is not amused, and he states, oh, this gets interesting. This gets interesting. Remember, we're in the year 1811. He says either the application for renewal of the charter is granted or the United States will find itself involved in the most disastrous war. That is a threat and a half. They got power to bring the United States to war? What happened? However, the United States stands firm and the charter is not renewed, which causes Nathan Mayer Rothschild to issue another threat in which he states, teach those impudent Americans a lesson and bring them back to colonial status. Woo! Whoa! 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 It shows you their power. This is so I'm talking about the time of the Gentiles, family. This shows you their power. So in the year 1812, backed by Rothschild's money and Nathan Mayer Rothschild's order, the British declare war on the United States. Remember the War of 1812, family? So this what the war was about? The War of 1812. You from I think it's the Maryland license plate. They got the 1812 on there in commemorating the war that took place. But the War of 1812, this was what it was about. Now check this out. He says the Rothschilds' plan is to cause the United States to build up such a debt in fighting this war that they have no option but to surrender to the British and allow the charter for the Rothschilds' own first bank of the United States to be renewed. However, as the British are still busy fighting Napoleon, remember, it's already a war taking place. It's a war that the Rothschilds are also responsible for. And Wassup's book, right, and his to bring a French Revolution, right? So their hands started the French Revolution, and now their hands has started the War of 1812 in America. You see that? So while Britain is fighting in the French Revolution, so to speak, right? They're being called, because remember the Rothschild owned Britain, they're being called to send some troops to America and fight that war. So, I mean, let's keep reading. So, so it says, however, as the British are still fighting Napoleon, they are unable to mount much of an assault. And the war ends in 1814 with America undefeated. You see that? So I wonder if it wasn't for them fighting the Napoleon War at the same time trying to fight America, would America won? Who knows? Who cares? I'm just saying. So America won that war. See, undefeated. That goes all into the whole Babylon lesson too, the mystery Babylon. That's for the future as well. But let's keep going though. So the war ended. Why did the war end? We great see. On September 19th, Mayer Amschel Rothschild dies, in his will, he lays the specific laws that the House of the Rothschild are to follow. 1. All key positions of family business are to only be held by family members. 2. Only male members of the family are allowed to participate in the family business. This includes reported 6 secret bastard sons. It is important to note here that Mayer Amschel Rothschild also had 5 daughters. So today, the spread of the Rothschild dynasty without the Rothschild name is far and wide. Jays believe and mixed offsprings of Jay's mothers is solely Jayish. That sounds crazy, Jayish. All right. 3. The family is to intermarry with its first and second cousin to preserve the family fortune. Interestingly, according to the J Encyclopedia of 1905, of the 58 Rothschild marriages to that date, exactly half of 29 had been first cousins, a practice known today as inbreeding. Not surprised. 4. Check this one out. And this one makes them mysterious right here. This one makes them mysterious. 4. No public inventory of his estate is to be published. You are not allowed to know how much money they got. This is why they get mad when you talk about they running things. They don't want to be recognized as that. They just want to do it in secret. Man, I mean, come on. 5. No legal action can be taken with regard to the value of its inheritance, right? Because they don't want it published. 6. The eldest son of the eldest son is to become the head of the family. This connection could only be overturned when the majority of the family agrees otherwise. So these are his 6 laws. Ironically, he has 6 laws. Go to number 6. Law number 6 is straightway put into effect when Nathan Mayer Rothschild is elected his father's successor as head of the family. All right, so let's get down here. I want to get to the... Okay, I guess we gotta read this first. Because this is remember the $3 million. Check this out. So in 1814, right? Mind you, the wars are still going on, right? So in 1814, with regard of the 3 million, Prince William VI of Hesse-Hanau had entrusted into Mayer Amschel Rothschild for safekeeping. The Jewish Encyclopedia 1905 edition, volume 10, page 494 gives the following account of where it ended up. According to legend, this money was hidden away in wine casks and escaping the search of Napoleon's soldiers when they entered Frankfurt, was restored intact in the same cask in 1814 when the elector, Prince William VI of Hesse-Hanau, returned to the electorate Germany. The facts are somewhat less romantic and more businesslike. This last line indicates the money was never returned by the Rothschild to Prince William VI of Hesse-Hanau. The encyclopedia goes on to state, Nathan Mayer Rothschild invested this $3 million in gold from East India Company, knowing that it would be needed for the Wellington Peninsula campaign. Furthermore, on the stolen money, Nathan made no less than 4 profits. On the sale of the Wellington paper, which he bought at 50 cents on the dollar and collected a par. He snapped. On the sale of gold to Wellington and on its repurchase and on forwarding it to Portugal. So he took the money to build the dynasty even more. He invested it to build the dynasty. All right, so in the year 1815, the 5 Rothschild brothers worked to supply gold to both Wellington's army through Nathan's in England and Napoleon's army through Jacob in France. You see that? So listen to what they're doing here. So the 5 Rothschild brothers worked to supply gold to both Wellington army through Nathan in England. So Nathan in England supplied Wellington's army, right? And Napoleon army through Jacob in France. So Jacob in France supplied Napoleon's army. So brothers are funding both sides of the war, right? And begin their policy of funding both sides of the war. The Rothschild love wars because they are massive generators of risk-free debt. Risk-free because the debts are guaranteed by the government of the country and therefore the efforts of the population of that country. And furthermore, it doesn't matter which country loses the war because the loans are given on the guarantee that the victor will honor the debt of the vanquished. So the winner has to pay the debt of both sides. Oh, man. While the Rothschilds are funding both sides in the war, they use the banks they have spread out across Europe to give them the opportunity to set up unrivaled postal services, network of secret routes, and fast couriers. You know how you got like the same day shipment, like if you order something off of Amazon, it comes the next day, fast courier. What can Brown do for you? FedEx and stuff like that. So this is the original one right here. They took their money and set up a a postal network that could not be compared to any other postal network in that time, where they can travel or get information or get whatever faster than anybody else. Listen to what he does with this, right? So he says that he set up an unrivaled postal service network of secret routes and fast couriers. Mail that these couriers carry is opened up by the couriers and the details of their contents given to the Rothschilds, so they are always one step ahead of current events. All right. These Rothschild couriers are the only merchants allowed to pass through the English and French blockades. So while the wars are going on, they got to let these guys pass through, right? Because these are Rothschild carriers, right? But check this out. And they use this advantage to keep Nathan Mayer Rothschild up to date with how the war is going. Why does he need to know that? I want y'all to think about a movie too. Think about the movie with Eddie Murphy and what's that, Dan Aykroyd, I think, called Trading Places. Just think about that. All right. So let me finish reading. All right. So he's able to use that intelligence to buy this and sell from his position on the stock exchange in accordance with that intelligence. Right? One of the Rothschild courier, a man named Rothworth, upon learning the British won the battle at Waterloo, takes off for the channel and delivers this news to Nathan Mayer Rothschild a full 24 hours before Wellington's own courier. Nathan Mayer Rothschild subsequently enters the stock exchange and instructs all his workers to start selling consols, known as bonds today. Due to the Rothschild reputation for being one step ahead with regard to the information, the other traders panic, think the British have lost the war, and start selling frantically. We've seen this in that movie. As a result, the consols plummet in value, at which point Nathan Mayer Rothschild discreetly instructs his workers to purchase all the consols they can lay their hands on. When the news come through that the British had actually won the war, the consols rocket up to a level even higher than before the war started, leaving Mayer Rothschild with a return of approximately 20-1 on his investment. In fact, Nathan Rothschild openly brags that in his 17 years in England, he has increased his initial 20,000 stake given to him by his father 2,500 times to estimated $50 million. Wow. And back then, imagine what $50 million was, man. It might as well have been 50 billion, right? The owner of these bonds or consols give the Rothschild family complete control of the British economy, now the undisputed financial center of the world. Wow. Ain't that something? Wow. And that's where they got that from. In that movie, I believe that's where they got that from. Because yeah. Because notice, they would always, the Dukes, that's what they would call it. They called the Dukes. They always was a step ahead. Remember, they had the courier and they come, and so whatever they did, everybody else would likely follow. Yeah. Yep. I watch Hollywood. Hollywood always throw a gem somewhere. But anyway. All right. So I think I read that one already. All right. So interestingly, 100 years later, the New York Times would run a story stating that Nathan Mayer Rothschild's grandson had attempted to secure a court order to suppress publication of a book which had this insider trading story in it. Remember the rules, the 6 rules, right? This violates the rule. The Rothschild family claims the story was untrue and libellous, but the court denied the Rothschild request and ordered that the family pay all court costs. Interesting. Back to 1815. This is the year Nathan Mayer Rothschild makes his famous statement. He says, I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls British empire, and I control British money supply. They bold, family. They're bold. And you see, this the reason why I'm going through all of this, family, because if they was running it back then like that, what are they doing now? We already see what their name means. They running everything. So far, we see them start. So far, we've seen them start 2 wars. Right? It's 2 wars. I mean, anyway, let's keep going. So it says, the Rothschild also used their control of Bank of England to replace the method of shipping gold from the country to country. Instead, used their 5 banks spread across Europe to set up a system of paper, debts, and credits. The bank system of today. This is where you get, grab your dollar. You got a dollar in your pocket, go grab your dollar, look at it, and it says this is what does it say? Tender note is debt. It's not backed by nothing, family. Just printing it out. Our money comes from the Federal Reserve. We're going to get into the Federal Reserve. But I'm just saying, our money comes from the Federal Reserve, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I'm being honest with you, just money created out of thin air. It's just money to us because they tell us it's money. They tell us it's money. It's not gold. It's not backed by gold. But anyway, let's keep going. So it says, by the end of this century, a period of time that becomes known as the age of the Rothschilds, it is estimated that the Rothschild family controls over half the wealth of the world. Y'all heard this? So if back then they controlled half of the wealth of the world, and they're going full throttle, like they started off small, they got bigger to the point where they control half the wealth of the world. How much of the world do you think they control today? Just think about that. All right, so okay. All right. So it says, indeed, a letter to Nathan Rothschild from Solomon Rothschild dated February 28th of this year states, we are like the mechanism of a watch. Each part is essential. However, something that did not go as well as the Rothschilds would have liked this year is the Congress of Vienna, which started in September 1814 and concluded in June of this year. The reason for which the Congress of Vienna was for the Rothschild to create a form of world government using debt that many European governments owed them as leverage to give them complete political control over much of the civilized world. So they're pushing it, they're forcing the hand. They're trying to start this one world government back then, right? As we know, it wasn't time for that. But check this out. The Congress started well when Rothschild managed to get Switzerland declared forever neutral in wars. Notice there has never been a war fought in Switzerland, or Switzerland has never participated in a war. If you notice that, this is something you can look up. Switzerland has never been in a war, family. So Switzerland has declared forever neutral in wars in order to provide them with sovereign territory from which to finance both sides of their manufactured debt, creating wars. They also had Switzerland borders extended to include within its territory Valais, Neuchâtel, and Geneva. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. However, their ultimate plan for the world government fails when the Tsar of Alexander I of Russia, one of the few great powers who had not succumbed to the Rothschild central bank, refuses to accept the world government. So they could have had their world government if it wasn't for Russia back then. Now watch what happens next. Enraged by this, Nathan, Mayor of Rothschild, swears that someday he or his descendants will destroy the Tsar Alexander the First entire family and descendants. Unfortunately, he will prove to be true to his word when 102 years later, Rothschild funded Jewish Jays Bolsheviks would act upon that promise. So he promised that he was going to take them out because he stopped them from having their one world government. It wasn't time yet. It wasn't time. They're going to get their time, but it wasn't time then. You know what I'm saying? Interestingly, the world government fanatic and Ashkenazi J. Henry Kissinger did his doctoral dissertation on the Congress of Vienna. All right, back to America. Check this out. 1816. The American Congress passed a bill permitting yet another Rothschild-dominated central bank. Oh, so they gave in to him, which gives the Rothschilds control over the American money supply again. This is called the Second Bank of the United States and is given a 20-year charter. This, of course, means the end of the British war against America with the death of thousands of British and American soldiers and the formation of another Rothschild-owned central bank. That war was all about, family. That war was all about that bank being taken down. And now that the bank is back, okay, everything's back to peace and love. Ain't that crazy? Year 1821. Check this one out. It shows you, again, how much power they got. Kalman, or Karl, Mayor Rothschild, is sent to Naples, Italy. He goes on to do a great deal of business with the Vatican and Pope Gregory the, 16, I guess. Was that 5? Don't get me wrong. I don't know Roman numerals. Subsequently, confers upon him the Order of St. George. Check this out. Also, whenever the Pope received Kalman, or Karl, he gives him the hand rather than the customary toe to kiss. So back then, they had to kiss the Pope's toe, I guess. I don't know if they still do that now. I don't know. But these people are so powerful, they don't have to kiss his foot. They kiss the hand, right? Check this out. Which causes concerns with the regard of the extent of Kalman Rothschild's power over the Vatican. So I asked the question. The reason why I'm doing this, family, like, think about this. If this family is running everything, I mean, literally, let me pause this while this thing go by. So if they are powerful and they're running everything, right? Like, really, like, let's put some logic here, man. If even the Pope is controlled by them, who's supposed to be the religious leader of the world, how can some man from another family make them bow down? I'm talking about when the man of sin comes on the scene. I mean, really think about it. Like, people used to say, "Oh, it's Obama," and like, I heard that. At one point, I used to think, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't see this family. I'm not talking about everybody. I'm just saying, I don't see this family bound down to no Obama or to no anybody else you can think of. You know what I'm saying? It's just elected. We got over in, what's that? England, Britain, one of them. Somebody's now king, now that the queen died, they was running that country too. I'm just saying. I'm talking to logic now. Just use logic. It doesn't seem possible. Now anything's possible, but I'm just saying it just seemed like it's gonna be one of their very own, man. I'm just saying. We're gonna get into that, but let's keep going. So skip down to the year 1823. Check this out. Remember what I just said. So in 1823, the Rothschilds take over the financial operation of the Catholic Church worldwide. Y'all see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Let's see what they saying in 1827. This Sir Walter Scott, he publishes a book. It's a 9-volume set. It's called The Life of Napoleon. And in volume 2, he states that the French Revolution was planned by the Illuminati at Wassup and financed by the money changers of Europe, the Rothschild. Let's swing back over to America. 1828. After 12 years, during which the Second Bank of the United States ruthlessly manipulated the American economy, yet again, right, to the detriment of the people, but to the benefit of their own money-grabbing ends, the American people had enough, and opponents of the bank nominated Senator Andrew Jackson of Tennessee to run for president. So now the American people are getting upset in the year 1828. They're like, this is crazy. But here's the thing. Why did y'all let it back in the first place? Y'all got rid of it. Y'all brought it back in. So now they're fed up with it. So this is why Andrew Jackson is elected president. All right. To the dismay of the Rothschild, Jackson wins the presidency. It makes it quite clear he is going to use his mandate to kill this bank at his first opportunity. He starts out during his first term in office rooting out the bank's many minions from government services. To illustrate how deep this cancer was rooted in the government, in order to achieve this end, he had to fire 2,000 of the 11,000 employees of the federal government. Wow. All right. Now, see, and this how this book works. It just goes in chronological years. So we're gonna come back to Mr. Andrew Jackson. We're gonna see more we gotta say, but this is interesting right here in the year 1830. Check this out. David Sassoon, a J banker of David Sassoon and Co., with branches in China and Japan and Hong Kong, uses his monopoly of the opium trade in this area on behalf of the Rothschild-controlled British government to traffic 18,956 chests of opium, heroin, family, smack, right? This earned millions of dollars for the Rothschilds and the British royal family. So hold on. They are bankers and drug dealers? All right? We're going to come back to that story. Let's go down. 1832, back to Andrew Jackson. The Second Bank of the United States asks Congress to pass a renewal for the bank charter 4 years early. So they already know. They're not dumb. They got their little spies and their little puppets out there. And they're like, American people tired, man. I don't know. They might back out again, man. And they like, all right, well, let's see if we can get them to sign it early so we can see what's going on. Maybe we can get to this issue right away. So this is what this is. So 4 years early, they ask for the renewal, right? Check this out. Congress complies and sends the bill to President Jackson, the 7th president of the United States, serving from 1829 to 1837. For signing, President Jackson vetoes this bill, and in his veto, he states the following. He says, "It is not our own citizens only who are to receive the bounty of the government." Excuse me. "More than 8 million of the stock of the bank are held by foreigners. Is there no danger to our liberty and independence in a bank that in its nature has so little to bind it to our country?" He said, "Y'all not even us." He said, "Y'all not us. You're not Americans. You're not. Y'all foreigners. Why? No." So he's like, no, right? He vetoes it. So he also sent them a nice little message. He says, "Controlling our currency, receiving our public money, and holding thousands of citizens in independence, not independence, but independence, meaning depending upon or in bondage, right, would be more formidable and dangerous than the military power of the enemy." So he's saying that the Rothschild Bank is worse than an military invasion on American soil. Heavy words, man. Heavy words. "If government would confine itself to equal protection as heaven does its rain shower the favor alike on the high and the low, the rich and the poor, it would be an unqualified blessing." Andrew Jackson was a piece of work, y'all. I'll tell you that right now. "In the act before me, there seems to be a wide, unnecessary departure from these just principles." Yep, it's him still speaking. All right, so in July, Congress is unable to override President Jackson's veto. President Jackson then stands for re-election, and for the first time in American history, he takes his argument directly to the people by taking his re-election campaign on the road. His campaign slogan is "Jackson and no bank." Now, I want y'all to think about this, because right now, when somebody goes for president, they actually campaign. They'll go to Iowa, they go to Texas, they go to Florida, they go, you know what I mean, depending on what states they feel like they need to get more, or wherever their base is, or whatever, how they work it. Jackson was the first to do this, and his slogan was "No bank." And this stuff we can look up. Like, this stuff is real, family. It's not just conspiracy theory. This stuff is real. All right. So it says, even though the Rothschilds poured over $3 million into the campaign of President Jackson's opponent, I'm sure President Jackson didn't have $3 million in his campaign, right? The Republican Senator Henry Clay, even though the Rothschilds poured over $3 million into the campaign of President Jackson's opponent, the Republican Senator Henry Clay, so Henry Clay, right? President Jackson is reelected by the landslide in November. However, President Jackson knows the battle is only beginning. Following his victory, he states, "The hydra of corruption is only scorched, not dead." So they wanted Henry Clay to be president because Henry Clay was probably going to do something to get their bank back. But Jackson won because the people was really tired of this bank. 1833, President Jackson starts removing government deposits from the Rothschild-controlled Second Bank of the United States and instead deposits them into banks directly by independent bankers. Very smart. This causes the Rothschilds to panic. And so they do what they do best by contracting the money supply and causing a depression. President Jackson knows what they are up to and later states, "You are a den of thieves and vipers, and I intend to root you out. By the eternal," they say, "God, I will root you out." 1834, the Italian revolutionary leader, Giuseppe Mazzini, is selected by the Illuminati to direct their revolutionary program throughout the world and goes on to serve in the capacity until his death in 1872. I don't know why I read that, but it's okay. All right, 1835, check this out. On January 30th, check this out, an assassin tries to shoot President Jackson, but miraculously, both, not just one, Both of the assassins' pistol misfired. President Jackson later claims he knew the Rothschilds were responsible for that attempt assassination. He is not the only one. Indeed, even the assassin, Richard Lawrence, who was found not guilty. Oh, come on now. You got... Hold on. It says he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. You going to go shoot the president? Your gun misfires, right? Jams or misfires, and you're found not guilty because you're insane. Telling you, they got some pull, family. They got some pull. They definitely, they got all the pull in this world. Satan's world, they got all the pull in Satan's world, family. Let's keep going though. So it says Richard Lawrence, who was found not guilty by reason of insanity, later brags that powerful people in Europe had hired him and promised to protect him if he were caught. See? I'm skipping in some more, family. And like I said, family, this is a book. You're able to see this because it's on PDF. So it's something you can bring up on PDF and all that. But it's a good book because I'm skipping a lot of information because there's a lot of information. I'm just trying to fit it all into a lesson, so I can start working on the Man of Sin lesson. But I mean, family, I'm skipping a lot of information, a lot of good information. So get the book and just check it out for yourself. I mean, why be ignorant? You know what I mean? Let's not be ignorant anymore. Because we put our trust in so many things that they got some crazy roots too. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, year 1836. Following his years of fighting against the Rothschild and their central bank in America, President Andrew Jackson finally succeeds in throwing the Rothschild Central Bank out of America when the bank charter is not renewed. It would not be until 1913 that the Rothschild would be able to set up their third central bank in America, the Federal Reserve, which you know is currently still here. But okay. Check this out. I'm gonna go down to this Sassoon dude. So David Sassoon, the Rothschild's drug dealer over in China, increases his trades to over 30,000 chests of opium annually, and drug addiction in coastal cities become endemic. All right, year 1838. Check this one out. On January 8th, President Jackson pays off the final installment of the national debt, which had been created by allowing the banks to issue currency for government bonds rather than simply issuing treasury notes without such debt. He becomes the only president to ever pay off the debt. The only president to pay off the debt. So when you think about it, when you listen to the news and stuff like that, the debt ceiling, it's something they're talking about right now. They're actually talking about that right now. They got to come up with a government, Congress and the president, Biden and all of them, they got to come up with an agreement to the debt ceiling. Or it could shut the government down. But you see, President Andrew Jackson, the former President Andrew Jackson, got rid of the central bank and paid all the debt off. So when you think about the debt today, who they in debt to? Like I said, family, if they were powerful back then, what do you think they're doing right now? You think they're just chilling, twirling their thumbs? They're still relevant, family. They're still relevant. They're secret. They like to be hidden in the background. They're the unseen hand. You know what I'm saying? Unseen hand. All right. 1839. Due to the rampant opium addiction in China, profiting David Sassoon, the British royal family, and the Rothschild, the Manchu emperor orders the trade to be stopped. He names the commissioner of Canton, Lin C. Hessel, the leader of a campaign against the opium. Lin C. Hessel organizes and seizes of 2,000 chests of Sassoon's opium and orders it to be thrown into the river. David Sassoon informs the Rothschild of this, and they demand that armed forces of Great Britain retaliate in order to protect their drug-running interests. So, China don't want his people hooked on drugs and try to do the best thing for their country. So, they come up with some special task force and get rid of the drugs. And the Rothschild sends armed forces, a war, to China's doorstep. Y'all see what's happening here? This, man, I'm telling you, man, these people here, man. These people here, bro. Yes. All right, let's keep reading. Thus, the Opium Wars begin, with British Army once again fighting as mercenaries for the Rothschilds' interests. They attack cities and blockade ports. The Chinese army, by now decimated by 10 years of rampant opium addiction, so they can't even get troops together because they all hooked on drugs, right? Proved no match for the British army. The war ends in 1842 with the signing of the Treaty of Nanking. This includes the following provisions designed to guarantee the Rothschilds, through their puppet, David Sassoon, the right to provide an entire population with opium. Yo, that's crazy, yo. That is crazy, yo. So there was a war. That was fought. Well, what did they call a war? I think we're going to hear about it. Let me see. Let me keep reading. Let me bring that up. Let me keep reading. All right, so it says 1, full legalization of opium trade in China. Wow. 2, compensation. Why can't I talk? Compensation to David Sassoon of £2 million for opium dumped into the river. Yo, he even got paid for this. 3, territorial sovereignty for British Crown over several designated offshore islands. Wow. Yep, it happened. It's called the Opium War. Chinese history. It says 2 armed conflicts in China in the mid-19th centuries between forces of Western countries and of Qing dynasty, which ruled China, was fought between China and Britain in the Second Opium War, also known as Arab War. Well, I ain't gonna read the whole thing, but wow. So, family, look, we see we see their power, we see their influence, and we see that they're up to no good. I just checked. I see we 2 hours in, so this is definitely gonna be a second part. I'm gonna wrap this one up. Stay tuned for the second part. We still gotta get into the Civil War. We still gotta get into the World Wars. We still gotta get to some other notable figures. But hopefully you're following along. Hopefully this encourages you to go get the book. Go read it for yourself. But I just wanted to do this before I did the Man of Sin lesson. And you kind of like to see why. These people ain't bowing down to nobody, family. You dump their drugs, they send an army at you. And then make you pay it back. Take their bank out, they send an army out. We're going to see what else they did, too. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to leave it right there. And I'm going to leave you with shalom as I came to you. Shalom. 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 Oh, family, before I get off, like the video and subscribe.